Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Andrew Yang. But first, we're going to celebrate good times. Come on, let's celebrate and have a party tonight. Now, why will we be celebrating? Well, the reason why is Andrew Yang, our champion, has qualified for the December 19th Los Angeles PBS NewsHour Politico debate number 6, all right? And he did it with exactly 9 days to go, right? It was really coming down to the wire, right? So I want to talk about Andrew Yang and, really more than anything, talk about this experience of having to wait this long for the qualifications. And specifically, I want to talk about my feelings about that, right? Now, wait. Scott Garrett's going to talk about his feelings? Well, we're all Democrats here, right? None of us are stone-hearted Republicans, right? So, we have to be registered Democrats to vote for Andrew Yang. So, we're Democrats, right? And I want to talk about my feelings a little bit because I've had a few over the last few weeks. I have basically been in the proximity of 3 distinct emotions, right? So it's been really harrowing over the last few weeks where, Andrew Yang has not been qualified. One of the deepest cuts was seeing Tom Steyer qualify before Andrew Yang. That is a deep cut that really, I really believe the best about our nation. I don't want to think that democracy is for sale and that you can buy it with billions of dollars. But boy, Tom Steyer is trying hard to put truth, to make that statement a truth. And it's hard seeing how well he's done and seeing him surpass an actual candidate like Andrew Yang, who's been in it from darn near day one and has not missed a single debate and has shook tens of thousands of American hands at this point, done the labor that was required. And so, to see something as dark and tragic as Tom Steyer qualifying before Andrew Yang, it shook me. It shook me to my core, right? And that was when I was concerned, right? So there was a concern. I was like, oh man, this is concerning to me. I am taking note of this. I understand the importance of this, right? And as the days went past, and and Kamala Harris, who had qualified, dropped out, right? Which is still a stunner to me. Can you imagine earning the place to actually talk to the American people one last time and just being like, nah, whatever. Like, it's shocking, right? But but as these days were going by, and we don't even have 2 weeks before the election, he literally qualified with 3 days remaining, right? It was really coming down to the wire, and my concern advanced to the emotion of worry, right? And I gave way to anxiety. That's what worry is. It's giving way to anxiety, right? And I was feeling tight in my heart, and it was uncomfortable. And I realized, okay, you have concern, you have worry at this point, right? And one, just so you're aware, I am an evangelical Christian, and worry is a huge trigger for evangelical Christians, right? And the reason why is it usually means that we are not trusting that all that is happening is in God's hands, right? And I believe that. I believe every single event that happens on this earth is in God's hands, right? And when we worry, we're saying, I don't think God's going to let this all go the way it should, right? And it's really doubting God, right? And so worry is a trigger, right? So one, I used the worry to say, okay, you cannot advance to fear here, right? You cannot allow yourself to be fearful that Andrew Yang is not going to qualify, right? And so I was able to hold it at bay at worry, right? And and check my emotions and really control myself, right? But I had to do that in a concerted, thoughtful way, and really lock it in and say, this is, I need to control myself, right? And I was able to do that, right? And so I was concerned, I was worried, and I knew I was approaching fearfulness, and and at that point, fearfulness is a belief that something dangerous is in your proximity, and I just would not allow myself to get there, right? So I was able to control that, and I feel really good I was able to do that. But also, just going through this escalation from concern to worry, checking myself and taking steps to care for my emotions, to care for my mental state, to manage myself, right? It just reminded me, it really, illustrated to me how incredibly important Andrew Yang's presidency is to me, right? And it really was, I realized, what's happening here is, there's just been this progression, right? So I found Andrew Yang by investigating all of the first 16 candidates that had come out, and I did a video on every single one of them. And when I was done, it was clear to me that, that Andrew Yang not only was Andrew Yang the best candidate in this pack, I think Andrew Yang is the best candidate that's ever run for president, excluding Abraham Lincoln and excluding George Washington. Right, that's it. It's Washington, Lincoln, Yang, right? And, and I just had so much respect for his intelligence, his nobility, his genuine care for the American people. And then as he began to progress into his candidacy, seeing him on the road and seeing how deeply he sacrifices each and every day, time away from his loving wife, time away from his wonderful children, his sons, who he wants to be with, how this is impacting his ability to be a husband, how this is impacting his ability to be a father, but he is taking this, he is making the sacrifice not to take anything away from the people he cares about, but to make a better world for the millions and millions of other husbands who, for millions and millions of Americans, no matter what they are, to make their lives better, right? And realizing that sometimes you do need to make a sacrifice, especially if you have your own personal momentum the way Andrew Yang has. And I think, in this election, Andrew Yang has the momentum of a freight train, but his whole life has been momentum, right? Ivy League, crushed it in the corporate world, crushed it in the benevolence world. It's just been steady momentum, right? And now driving toward the king of the world, right? Because that's what the presidency is. It's king or queen of the world, right? And he's heading toward it. And so I just realized how much his presidency meant to me. It is etched on my mind and my heart. I just have this vision of a world where we are returning to a respect for the role of presidency, not just the person who is the current president. And, because right now I think we're really in this zone of love or hate whoever's president, right? And the role is just lost to Americans. So the Americans have just forgotten that the role is bigger than anyone who holds it, right? And the role is being massively damaged right now, and it needs to be restored. So the idea that Andrew Yang can come in, restore the role of the presidency, and begin to bolster up America and to pick up the shattered pieces of our democracy, the shattered pieces of our American unity, the shattered pieces of our hope of civility, right, in our leaders, right? The idea that our leaders might, show respect and kindness to every single American, that they might, be an example of fidelity, right? That they might be an example that other parents could follow, that other spouses could follow, right? And and this bright, gleaming, future is just laser etched in my mind, and I can see. It's like I can see every day of his 4 years, right? And I can, and they're not filled with, with glorious triumphs every day, right? I understand that we have that we have to restore the earth from being a burning hellscape, right? That we have to, just fix so many things, right? That this millennial generation has been in many ways abandoned by Gen X and abandoned by boomers emotionally, right? And intellectually, right? Not physically. I think in some cases for millennials, even physically, right? And there's just so much work to be done for the millennials to fix their world and to fix, and there's just so much repair to be done. And it's just, and the idea, and when we were going through, the last 2 weeks, and in my mind, that future was starting to evaporate, because I was concerned and worried. It was terrifying to me. And so, one, I really want to thank you for listening to me share my emotions, but this was very emotional for me, right? And now I really want to invite you, if you had emotions connected to this period, let me know what you went through. I'd really like to hear your story. Put it below in the comments if you have time, and if you can share it in a way that's not too personal, or I understand we all have a level of privacy we want, but if you feel comfortable, please share share how this situation made you feel, because this was genuinely I can't say it was frightening, because I really stopped myself from being feared, but I had really reached the point of worry. And again, one of the reasons why I love being an evangelical Christian, because I've been taught by amazing pastors who are like, you can't, the moment you reach worry, you need to check yourself. You need to be praying to Jesus Christ every day. You need to be in your spiritual disciplines. You need to be in your word. You need to be taking, maybe even you need to even go into fasting. You need time of solitude, your spiritual disciplines, right? And it was important, right? Because I was really in the phase of worry. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about what this period has meant, right? So one, I am so joyful right now. I'm just really excited. And I will say I'm a little shell-shocked, you know what I mean? Because, it's really wonderful, but, this was really down to the wire, right? And one of the reasons why, so I want to talk about why this meant so much, or why the worry was so intense, right? So one, I am so down for Andrew Yang, and I don't want to say this, but one of the things I think we need to do, Andrew Yang is a man of logic. He is a man of reason. He is a man of intelligence. And we can't, and as much as we want to, bow to our emotions at times, it is very clear to me. If you miss a debate, you are done. You are done. D-O-N-E. Steyer, no chance. Tulsi, no chance. Bloomberg, no chance. Right? All those other people who have, are still no. Marianne Williamson, you miss a debate, you're finished, right? And the reality is, as tough as it is to get past these debates, the presidency is tougher, right? And so it is not unfair to set these hard obstacles for people, for these hurdles to get over, because you're going for the hardest job in the world, right? There's no time for coddling of these candidates, right? This is, put up or shut up. This is go time. You know what I mean? And so, and I'll tell you, man, I was truly, truly worried what the future was going to look like with an Andrew Yang that had not qualified. But he did qualify. We're going to debate number 6, right? And I'm also very confident, right? And so, and actually, let's take a moment, right? So one of the things that's incredible is this was a terrible problem, right? And the reasons we're here are Yang media blackout, absolutely atrocious human beings, just like people who are cruel and vindictive, like Jimmy Kimmel, and just a whole bunch of very bad situations that had really piled up to make it difficult for Andrew Yang to transition and to actually qualify. And it's been so frustrating. And even with and we had gotten to a point where we had lots of money, and it was so frustrating to see, right? But leaders own problems that don't belong to them. That is leadership. When you're solving problems that are unfair, when you're solving problems that are hard, when you're solving problems that you don't even have all the resources to solve, right? When you're making heroic efforts, when you're doing what looks impossible, when you're driving against a system that is, when you're driving against an array of enemies, right? Like that are just lined up and equipped to take you down, and you still hack your way through, and make it to the goal. And that's Andrew Yang. It's his ability to push through these obstacles that makes him so special, right? And he's the whole package, right? He has the intelligence, he has the heart, he has the drive, he has everything that's needed, just like Lincoln and just like Washington, everything that's needed to make a great president, right? He is a person of character, and I am just incredibly excited about the continuing hope we have in this candidate and this brilliant, bright, shining future that can be ours if the American people will open their eyes and see the possibilities that exist for them, and not just clutch to the old, comfortable, staid, ritual candidates, right? And it is truly incredible. Another thing I want to share is this whole period has given me increased sympathy for Bernie Sanders supporters. They went through this in 2016. I remember witnessing it, right? And I remember laughing at times and like, oh, look at that. Well, whatever. And now we're there. Like we're feeling it. We're feeling it where we're feeling the situation of being a non-establishment candidate fighting against the establishment, and we're dealing right now with many of the same problems. Establishment arrayed forces fighting us at every turn with equipment they shouldn't have, with resources they shouldn't have, and it's just aggravating and frustrating, and it's and I realize now what Bernie Sanders voters went through, and I if you're a Bernie Sanders supporter, my condolences. I understand how bad 2016 was for you, right? I'm telling you now, 2020 is gonna be worse. Like, there's no way that Bernie Sanders is gonna get to the end line. It ain't gonna happen. He just has elements that make him unelectable, but it doesn't reduce at all my sympathy for the Bernie Sanders voters and how they came through the other side. So if I seem a little low key today, I apologize. I will tell you right now, this past 2 weeks has really shook me. I will remember for the rest of my life watching that horrible candidate, Tom Steyer, a billionaire who really just thought it was appropriate to come in late, use billions to replace hard labor, use billions to replace relationships, and to see him surge past Andrew Yang, and to see the power of the United States dollar in our politics was terrifying. It was just so harrowing, right? But I am wonderfully restored today. I'm still, just kind of shaking off the jitters from these last 2 weeks of seeing, even the possibility of the bright Andrew Yang presidency start to evaporate, and we're back in the game. We are back in the game. Andrew Yang is back in the game. All the labor, right? All the everything that's been given, right? People have given so much to pave the road for Andrew Yang, and I'm trying to do my part. I hope you're trying to do your part. Today truly is a day of celebration, so let's do exactly that. Just give yourself a moment to enjoy this wonderful moment where we continue to lay brick by brick the road that will take Andrew Yang to the Oval Office and I'm just really, really excited that we're here at this point. Thank you once again for letting me share these ideas with you. Please take a moment, if you would, and let me know your thoughts on these last 2 weeks. How did you feel? I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.